Oh no, it started.
This is Rob, and the area he just fell into is considered one of the most interesting spots in the Amazing World of Gumball, called the Void. By the end of this video, you'll know not just what it is, but why Rob wanted to stop it, and also what the new season has in store for the Void. But first, where does this begin? This is actually where most fans get it wrong.
The Void makes its first appearance in season 3, but where the story actually begins is much earlier.
So what do you think of my treehouse, girls?
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Molly has such a good eye for interior design.
Yeah, it's good use of space.
Boring.
So as you heard, this is Molly and her treehouse, which are both pretty boring, but put a pin in that because it's important to understanding how the Void works. They were introduced in the season 1 episode, The Pressure, and the treehouse was more the focus of this episode than Molly was.
This episode largely revolves around Masami pressuring Darwin into being her boyfriend to keep up appearances, as well as Penny and Gumball. So what does this have to do with the Void? Well, every character you see on screen would have a major episode dedicated to them between this episode and the Void. Everyone except for Molly, who doesn't have any major roles. But does that mean she disappeared immediately? No. I'm going to show you what was the last appearance of Molly before the episode The Void.
Sorry.
Did you miss it? I wouldn't blame you if you did. We know that after Molly had lunch, she went to her treehouse, and that's the last that we would see her for a while. In season 2, you would see her in photos, but never in person. And it would take a whole season for someone to remember her.
Now, is this where we see the Void? No, not yet. To understand why Rob was so passionate about fighting back the Void, we gotta look back at what became a defining moment of his character.
Gumball, Darwin! What's up, guys? Hey! Rich? Did you just call me Rich like it was a question?
Yeah, this used to be Rob, looking crazy different than what we know now. He had a similar arc to Molly, but how he was affected by being forgotten was completely different. Gumball and Darwin do not know this dude, and ironically, in the fight, he was there as well, but chilling in the background with not much of a speaking role. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin are trying to buy this DVD for Anais, and while they're trying to get home, Rob gets up in their face and confronts them, so Darwin does the polite thing and kicks him into a manhole. And later on in the episode, despite the insane disrespect, Rob still tries to save their DVD from falling into the sewer. And Gumball and Darwin see that he's cool and maybe they can get to know him a little better.
Yeah! Thanks, Rich! Oh, I meant Ralph!
Rob held a grudge against the two for this incident, even bringing it up later when the rest of Elmore was angry with the Watterson family.
What do we do now?
However, oddly, this episode would fade away in a sense, and none of this would be remembered. It would also be the last appearance of Rob before he disappears too, with Molly. So we have one character who's so boring that we'd never see her again, and another character who's so forgettable that he'd fade from Elmore with no one realizing. You would imagine the Void sets him up to be rescued, right? Yes, but not in the way that you think. So how do Gumball and Darwin figure out someone is missing? The answer is sadder than you can imagine. They don't realize that Molly or Rob is missing, they just realize that someone is missing. And the only reason they cared enough to figure out who is missing is because the world literally folded in on itself, and now there's a huge section gone. You see, the Void consumes every mistake the world has ever made by completely removing any and all signs of their existence. Once Gumball and Darwin saw a photograph with a Molly-shaped empty space in it, they remembered who went missing. Their memories of being in Molly's treehouse seem to be gone, but they're not the only ones. It seems that everyone forgot who Molly was, except for Mr. Small, who noticed that there was something off about their world.
So you're telling me that in a class full of our friends who went to school with her your whole life, not one of you remembers Molly?
Wait, did you say Molly?
Yes!
No, I don't remember.
Thanks to his conspiracy theories, tin hats, and the photo Gumball discovered of Molly's treehouse, they were able to figure out how to reach her.
They get to the location and there's something off. It's like they've hit a border, a boundary of Elmore, and when they pull back that layer, they finally see the void. The boys and Mr. Small start floating around the strange hyperspace of the void and eventually are able to find Molly frozen within her treehouse. And Rob also saw the two flying over, but he wasn't able to get their attention. Once the void's nearly closing, they hop in Mr. Small's van and save Molly. This is one of those things that makes me so obsessed with Gumball's writing. Just the meta-narrative of Rob and Molly becoming less known within Elmore was used to create this episode and give these two unused characters a new purpose. After this episode, Molly was still boring, but she became boring in such a unique way that had multiple episodes focused on how much she yaps about nothing, turning her lack of unique traits into its own unique trait that the writers could use in more episodes. And the best part to me is that I don't think they planned to do any of that with the ending of this episode. It was just a great starting point for new stories.
But how did this episode change Rob? Well, it's messed up, but it involves being forgotten. Gumball and Darwin believe that someone or something broke into their home. Darwin stumbles into the basement where they find a mattress, their missing items, some toys, and most importantly, a hot bowl of soup, which means whatever is in here is still in here. So you may wonder, why isn't he mad about being forgotten in the void? And that's because just like Gumball, Darwin, Mr. Small, and Molly, he also forgot exactly what the void is. It seems that he just forgotten everything about the events previous to this episode, including his home and identity.
So, what happened?
I can't remember. I have nothing left of who I was. I'm nobody.
And they cycle through all these other characters who all have their own established roles in the world, and they realize that there is one role that isn't filled yet. Rob could be their supervillain, their nemesis, the worst guy the world has ever made, as Darwin puts it. And the second he says those words, Rob's memories return. He remembers being in the void, Gumball and Darwin leaving him behind, and clinging onto the back of Mr. Small's van, barely escaping at the cost of his body, leaving him with strange, glitchy limbs.
These traumatizing moments sow the seeds for Rob's obsession with the void and getting his revenge on Gumball, for which he enacts two major plans. The second involves someone related to one of the characters in this scene here on screen, but he almost didn't need it as his first plan to destroy Gumball nearly worked. I'm talking about when Rob got his hands on one of the most ridiculously strong items in the entire show. We get to honestly some of the best episodes of Gumball that still hit even today. Rob doesn't only want to tear down his nemesis, he wants to take out all of the people he loves and erase him out of existence entirely. Rob by himself isn't that strong or intimidating, but the thing is, he doesn't need to be.
You turned me into the villain Gumball Watterson. You left me with this broken body. You gave me this ridiculous voice. Well, now I am in control.
The universal remote. It's one of the objects that completely destroys the fourth wall, like the Cartoon Network notebook in The Shipping. He uses subtitles to mislead Darwin on what Gumball's saying. He turns off the parental filter on Nicole and Richard and things spark up immediately, and Penny was the one he did the dirtiest. He lowers the brightness to make it seem like Gumball was cheating on Penny, changes the subtitles to muddy their communication, and finally fast forward so that Gumball accidentally pushes Penny to her downfall. And one by one, all of Gumball's relationships with the people he loves are broken in various ways.
While Rob is harming people who didn't directly hurt him, I do understand why he gets annoyed when Gumball keeps forgetting his name.
You! It was you who did all this! My arch nemesis, Roy!
No, my name isn't. My name is Rob, gosh darn it!
Oh, sorry.
Rob opens up the void with the remote and intends to force Gumball in and keep him there, which ultimately works by throwing the remote that Gumball would need to save everything in the void once the batteries seem to run out. However, this allows Gumball to catch the remote and rewind time to try again. But this time, it goes even worse than before.
We should have adopted something with more brains, like a carrot. No! Rob is messing with your potato? Rob is messing with me? Yes! Watch out!
I will destroy you and everyone you love!
Although Gumball tries to be one step ahead of Rob, the rewind button does more than rewinding the universe's time. It could also be used to de-age anyone, which includes Gumball's parents. You may ask, since Nicole and Richard are babies here, doesn't it mean that Gumball and Ace and Darwin technically aren't born yet? You'd be correct. And Gumball witnesses not only the disappearance of Anais, but the regression of Darwin, which breaks his heart. Imagine watching someone close to you essentially die, but in reverse. Their fight mostly is the same, but this time Gumball gets the upper hand and sends Rob into the void with a pretty funny line.
Sorry, but you
Oh, sorry. I said,
you shouldn't have pushed my buttons.
If Gumball wanted to, he could close the void, and Rob would be stuck, and no one would know anything of what would have happened by reversing time. But that kind of be messed up, because not only did they place the battery in this man's back to become the villain in the first place, but Gumball would have to live with the fact that he essentially doomed a man to a dimension full of things that don't belong. So naturally, he goes back and tries to save Rob, but his body has some other plans.
And as Gumball's body starts progressing, Rob has the upper hand again.
I can't. What am I gonna do?
And he can't bring himself to do it. For Gumball to come all the way back and save him makes him actually pretty likable. And this seems like the point where Rob realizes that there's someone or something bigger and more powerful at play here. This is Banana Barbara, Banana Joe's mom, who has the ability to predict the future with her paintings. The first time she did it was in an episode called The Oracle, where Gumball was trying to stop a future from happening, and in the end he failed. He wasn't able to stop her vision from coming true, leaving him butt booty naked in the middle of a mall. Her ability to see the future might be a key in understanding the void and how it works, so Rob decides to up his villain game. He kidnaps her and forces her to paint the future in a warehouse until he can understand what's going on. But there is one problem with that. The Banana family isn't necessarily the most intelligent bunch, and this doesn't do Rob any favors.
No! The future! I want you to paint the future! What happens next? That can't just be the end! I need your power!
This is when we learn that Barbara can also alter the present as well. She uses her paintings to help Gumball, Darwin, and Banana Joe in real time discover where she is, which leads to a big fight where this time, Gumball isn't going to spare him. Rob is erased from existence before he can harm anyone any further. The problem though is that Gumball and Darwin ignore Banana Barbara's power again.
see ya in the future, Rob!
But there is no future.
So that is how we get to what was, for a long time, the final episode of the show, where Rob would enact a plan to try and salvage the universe before the void consumes it all. And I want to use this moment to talk about the elephant in the room. Rob was right the whole time. And he was way more correct than he knew. He spends the majority of this episode disguised as Superintendent Evil, a vile, judgmental man who changes everyone's looks to look more human, and eventually even realistic. Unfortunately, Rob gets caught and tries to explain himself.
Don't you understand what's going on in Elmore? You have two choices. Live in ignorance about what's gonna happen here, or listen to what I have to say.
I think that's quite enough. Thank you.
This is what leads to Rob waking up later and witnessing the void consume him, as well as the rest of Elmore.
They don't know that they're characters in the show and feel that all of this is normal. Even when Gumball got a glimpse of reality within the rerun, remember that Rob had to reverse everything to save everyone. Rob came so close to pulling this all off, his biggest plan yet, and he tried to get across this message to maybe save the show from being completely consumed by the void, which, unfortunately, did happen for some time. Not only did the show not survive, but somehow we have a bad ending with Cartoon Network as a whole. Almost every show from that era is done or gone, and we wouldn't know if Rob was ever going to come back.
The show essentially paused for years and collected dust. Ironically, it wouldn't be Cartoon Network to save the show specifically, but Hulu.
Dude, we're late for school.
In the first batch of episodes, there wasn't a single Rob appearance, but in this new batch, we get to where Rob has been since the world was resumed. We're exactly where the video began. Rob falls into the void and time stops. So what happened next? The same man who gave Rob the universal remote in the disaster is now Rob's new boss, the driver of the Awesome Store. But why did this happen?
It's finally Rob's time to ascend past the Nemesis role and become something greater within the show. And this episode's ending closes the biggest chapter in Rob's story so far. Oh my god, this is so crazy. After all this time, dog. One day, Gumball and Darwin are kicking it around the house and they realize things are kind of weird. Like their bedroom window doesn't make any sense. They never have any birthdays. And their voices and faces just change overnight. And they accurately think that this weirdness has something to do with Rob, but this is also where the driver of the Awesome Store comes into play.
And once they realize that their lives are nothing but fiction,
Elmore will collapse into the void.
So how do the two prevent this from happening? Well, there's two ways, okay? There's a fun way and there's a not very fun way. At first, I use an object that's as powerful as the universal remote. This laptop, which contains the script of the show, and anything typed into it alters reality. But there is a problem with that.
Not one bit of this makes sense, even in Elmore.
Someone wants to stop us from finding something.
The writing is cooked. Gumball and Darwin notice automatically every change they make and become more and more skeptical. And the more skeptical they get closer to the actual truth of the void. And if they get to the truth, they'll be completely consumed by it, like in Banana Barbara's painting.
Rob and the Awesome Store owner tried desperately to stop Gumball and Darwin with lots of chaos and distractions, which, while funny to see, ultimately didn't work. So we have the not so fun plan.
I wrote a whole new ending. All you have to do is make sure it plays right.
wait, is it a good ending?
It's the only one that can fix the plot hole. Goodbye, boss.
Rob understands that he's not the main character of this world and decides that he'll sacrifice himself if that means that Elmore gets to live another day outside of the void. Gumball and Darwin get as close to the truth as they can before they battle it out with Rob, and Darwin would point Gumball in the direction of an axe, and right before Gumball gets to use it, we get another force at play. Standards and practices. Of course, Gumball wasn't going to kill Rob with an axe, and how they rewrite this defeat says a lot about who's in charge of not just Elmore, but everything in and around it.
I swear that was the floor.
Well, funny, Rob remembers something that Gumball, Darwin, Molly, and Mr. Small don't. The void is out there, and we'll come back to get them. Rob would turn from the villain who wanted to destroy everything Gumball loves to the hero who's going to protect everything around Gumball.
They will need someone to protect them when they eventually get pulled from the air.
What will I do when the void comes back for them?
You just press this button.
So what does this mean for the painting and the oracle that we know is true now? What does that mean for Rob? Will other characters be sent to the void? We may find out in the next season. I want to give a big thank you to RT60 for helping me with working on this video. The collab we did on his side is a little bit more chaotic. We had lots of fun. You should check it out on his channel with this video right here. And if you want to hear more about Rob, I did a whole review on the X, a major Rob episode, in this video right here.